Give us 30 minutes each week to discover the trends that are shaping the future of retirement with That Annuity Show. We bring you conversations with industry leaders who are revolutionizing financial products, technology, and distribution channels. Now, here's your host, Paul Tyler.
Hi, this is Paul Tyler, and welcome to another episode of That Annuity Show. Tisa, glad to have you here.
Hey, Paul. Yeah, it's great to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, end of summer. We're back in the offices. Yeah,
back to school. Back to back.
Yeah, Bruno, Canada. Is it getting colder there? Or it's getting a little breezy
always.
here. No?
It is always getting colder.
Yeah, always getting colder. Just before we jump into the show, some real interesting news. I saw the LIMRA sales numbers come out. Wow, another super strong quarter for the industry. Despite predictions, the industry continues to grow, and I think a good reason for it is I think we're starting to get the tech right in this space. I think we're starting to see this industry respond to consumers, respond to agents, and that's why I'm really excited about guests we have on today from Aspida. We got the people doing some really interesting things on the tech side. Like to introduce Alex Sedita, Chief Information Officer, and Jason Padone, Chief Technology Officer. And Alex, why don't we start with you and just give people a little bit of what are you doing at Aspida, but then also how'd you get here?
Thanks, Paul, and great to be here with you and Bruno and Tisa, along with Jason, of course. So Alex Sedita, I'm the CIO for Aspida, and my history is about 35 years of IT. I actually started off in telecom, terrestrial, satellite, and cellular. Everybody's got a cell phone. I was in Motorola back in the heyday at the Motorola Cellular Infrastructure Group, developing some of the foundations like CDMA that we had for cellular technology in the U.S. From there, I actually spent some time with Citibank doing banking software, data warehousing, and so forth. I did a stint in military avionics, doing real-time embedded for Army helicopters and F-22 jets. Ultimately, I was with the Home Depot for 8 years, where I was the chief technology architect of the company. I spent 4 years with First Data Corporation, now part of Fiserv, and then 9 years with MetLife, where I was the chief technology architect of the company globally, and then for the last 5 years or so, the CIO for the Latin America business. And in 2023, about 2 years ago, came over to Aspida, where it's a breath of fresh air working with a company that has built an end-to-end frictionless experience, digital for the sales and servicing of annuities products. Lower levels of bureaucracy, lots of empowerment and speed, quick decision making, and no boat anchor of legacy technology. So it's been a pleasure. So that's me in a nutshell.
Excellent. Yeah, Jason.
Yeah, Jason Padone, Chief Technology Officer, as you mentioned. Been at Aspida for about just over a year and a half. Prior to that was at Truist Financial for many years, mostly in the digital space as well on the tech side. Got to navigate a bunch of mergers there, which are always interesting. And the last being one of the largest, I think, in U.S. history between BB&T and SunTrust, which is where Truist, how Truist was born. Also have a very technical background. I was a software engineer for many years. And actually, I hold 4 software patents, which is probably something a little unique about myself.
Okay. Well, listen. We've got a lot of threads to pull in here. Alex, you want to just tell us who is Aspida, and how does technology drive or define the business model?
Absolutely, Paul. I'd say Aspida is a tech-driven insurance company focused on providing secure and simple annuity products and reinsurance solutions, because we have both the retail side of the business as well as reinsurance. We exist in the U.S., in Bermuda, and in Cayman. And like I said earlier, we've built a frictionless digital end-to-end digital platform for the sales and servicing of annuities products, trying to take an industry that typically takes 6 or 7 weeks to issue a policy and get that down to an hour. I mean, the quickest we've done is typically uh, under a minute.
Okay, hold on.
But yeah,
A
we'll go.
minute, an hour.
Yeah, yeah. We
So
if you
really,
want to go.
I'm the skeptic. So tell me, when did the clock? Okay, when did the ticker start? When did it end? But
Yeah,
really, what's the plumbing? How have you approached that? Because that's radically different from, I'd say, the way most carriers
yeah.
operate today.
Yeah, one of the big tenets we have is to automate everything and to create, these digital experiences that are simple for producers and clients to actually go through the application process. So we spent a significant time on our electronic application process to make sure that all the validations were in there. And you talk about when does the timer start? Once the application's submitted, but we've got a significant amount, I'd say close to 100% straight through processing for those applications that are new money, right? ACH, EFT type payments for new annuities being issued, and our back end processes those in an automated fashion. So that's kind of and I think the special sauce there is the amount of validation we're doing during the process, the APIs we reach out so that it simplifies the need to make phone calls or check on licensing, states, regulations, and so forth. So, would you like to know a little bit more about Aspida?
Well, I thought, yeah, I'd like to talk just a little bit about like what you've had to do. Now, it's interesting. We both share, experiences with same large company, and I'll tell you, MetLife was, when I look back at what we had done, like mid 2000s, it was way ahead of the time. Now, mammoth number of people. I think when I was there, I think we had maybe 40,000 employees. It was enormous.
Mhm.
Uh, I don't know. I recall 70. I think we had 70 policy admin systems at that point. Now, kind of like you, Alex, I went to a small company, so I went from there to like a company of 100 people, and wow,
Mhm.
opens up the doors to new policy. New. Maybe talk to us a little bit more about how the um, size of an organization can sort of speed, how you're approaching and rethinking some of these problems.
Sure, sure. I would tell you first in terms of the difference in size. And by the way, when I was at Met, it was uh, policy admin systems and bolt-ons across 50 some odd countries, 400 plus, right? And there are a lot of integrations which cause the necessity to do a significant amount of work when you're trying to get new products out and so forth. The breath of fresh air, I'd say, at Aspida is the speed that we can get through quick decision making. Obviously, the environment is simpler, right? There is some necessary bureaucracy to be able to work across a matrix organization like at MetLife with so many countries. And I thought we did a pretty good job there. But just the simplicity of being able to make decisions very quickly, to drive down empowerment into the teams with that trust and the associated accountability to be able to deliver these technologies, capabilities, and products has been fantastic. I'd say our mindset has been one of in-house tech in many cases as a strategic advantage, where we've been very careful to use in-house tech as special sauce as opposed to third party all the time. Uh, an engineering culture, when we think about our culture, collaboration culture, and that's across IT and non-IT. In terms of people, talent development of architects, engineers in the software and data space, digital product managers. Like this is all what we're trying to do across IT. Product aligned teams and agile methodology in the process space. And for the tech, contemporary, nimble, flexible, scalable, secure, cloud based infrastructure and services. Earlier this year in February, we retired our data centers. We're 100% in the cloud now. And driving all kinds of uh, key initiatives around infrastructure as code, clean, governed structures and structured and unstructured data to support AI, contemporary tools and technologies for software build, and trying to drive that consistent, omni-channel user experience.
I wanted to jump in. So, thank you for sharing the journey to date. I draw some parallels to some of the things you were describing. um, based on my day to day. But from a transformation perspective, moving to where you are now, I wanted to hear a little bit about, you talked about culture and people. So I don't know if it's just here, but, sometimes that word automation and some of the other advancements that are coming sort of fly right in the face of what people might think for their roles. So what I've experienced is, from a frontline perspective, a lot of the knowledge and process information that you need to automate comes from those individuals. So I was just curious about kind of keeping that culture moving forward while at the same time, I won't call it job preservation, but just how do you navigate the balance of moving the organization forward while tapping into your subject matter experts at the same time bringing them along on that journey, less technology focused types of roles.
Hmm. Jason, you want to take that, or you want me to go?
Yeah, I can take it. I would say, some of our approach is really grounded on a very clear, well articulated vision, which comes down from the top, which helps, right? Lou Hensley, our CEO, is he has a huge and impressive background in this industry, um, but he's also very tech minded and tech focused, right? Um, and he wants to grow this company really with that tech foundation in mind, and that's really what we've done. So I would say tech and automation is almost part of our
Core
DNA.
value.
Yeah, and I think it you see it throughout the organization, regardless of what domain you might be a part of. So I lead a AI task force, for instance. We have more subject matter experts and folks from the business than we do tech people on that task force, right?
Mhm.
So they're very motivated and excited about how to apply technology even to their domains, which might not necessarily be um, maybe as tech engaged
Mhm.
as they have in the past. So I do that. I do think our cultures really supports that, and we're our size also makes it a bit easier and seamless to make them part of the process, right?
Mhm.
We
Thanks.
all seen from experience, right? Like technology products, projects, or initiatives that are done to you, they generally
Mhm.
don't succeed, right? Change management often fails there. But if you're part of the process, you'll get behind it, you'll support it, you'll make sure it's a success. And I think
Yeah.
that's kind of how we approach things at Aspida.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Jason, can you
And
share,
better product
share
too.
that one? Jason, can you share that one thing that you always say about being replaced by AI? It's a little twist that is, I think, a really intelligent.
Oh yeah, and I can't take credit for this. This is
Right.
Jensen Huang's from NVIDIA's quote. He said that AI probably won't replace your job, right? Right. It's not going after your job, um, and it's not necessarily at risk. You're at risk if you aren't using the technology, right? So those that are not using AI and not figuring out how to be more productive and more effective are the ones that will be replaced. It's
yeah.
not the technology replacing you.
Yeah, it's
It's
the person who's using it.
Well,
Yeah.
well,
right.
well, well, this is we got to spend a little time on AI. So it's fun. Everybody says, "Oh, the insurance industry is slow." Well, it's true, it's slow, but it's changed a lot because Alex Jason. So I've worked for a mutual company that went public,
Mhm.
a PE owned firm that went public. I can go through a lot of changes, and I think the organizational change, organization of what, or I'd say the model of an insurance company has changed so much. Like, when we first bought F&G, I think we had 100, 115 people. We were able to scale that tremendously. Now the company's gone way beyond where it was today. Um, but I think in like 2010, the companies were kind of driven by you know, uh, I'm trying to think that the chief actuaries were incredibly critical. They always are, But I saw a shift in 2000 to the investment side. Insurance companies were much more about the investment oriented piece.
Mhm.
I think outsourcing was embraced a lot more, and the AI kind of like is like a whole new wave. Think about what cloud computing did to IT departments and how you think about things.
Mhm.
How does that reshape how you think about staffing, how you think about what you do internally versus what you send out to a partner? How's that like changing your mind in terms of how IT is going to work in the industry going forward?
Yeah. So that fits well in that paradigm, right? There's a couple of those pairings that we have across the industry currently, right? And we're one that are we're enjoying that relationship, of course. Now, in terms of like how technology and AI might reshape our industry in the next 3 to 5 years, let's say, um, and you've talked about how maybe insurance isn't rapid at adopting, right, as compared to, let's say, banking or retail or other industries, but rapid digital transformation is reshaping insurance, and we're trying to be on the forefront of that. That's part of the answer to your question. The rise of AI, cloud, APIs, and customer expectations specifically are going to drive us, right? We're here for the stakeholders, right? We're not here for technology for the sake of technology. We're here to develop something that's going to be a new capability to drive our business forward, whether that's better cost, bigger spreads, higher revenue, right? More voice of the customer, uh, 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 appeal. Um, Business continuity, innovation, and cybersecurity are still going to be critical for us. So we need to be both the protector, IT, and the enabler, right? One of the things we talk about is our two strategic imperatives for IT are delivering new technology capabilities for the business, and at the same time maintaining a safe, secure, and reliable operating environment. So some of the ways we're hiring, like I said, we have a lot of our folks internally in the software engineering team, which reports into Jason. A lot of those folks are probably folks that could have gone to Amazon or Google, but they like our story, the fact that we're trying to drive change. So let me let Jason talk a little bit more about kind of who we're hiring, the kind of talent we have, and the way that we're able to really be at the tip of the spear for some of the industry.
Yeah, I think we have a little bit of an advantage. We're we're proud of being a little bit of a disruptor in the industry, right? That helps certainly with our recruiting, and we are able to hire that really top tech talent. We're in an area in the Research Triangle region of North Carolina. It's a tech hub, right? So we have a pretty good pool of talent to hire from. But as far as like how AI is kind of maybe changing or influencing our hiring decisions, I don't think I don't think AI will necessarily influence like our headcount growth too much. I do think we look at it as a productivity booster more than anything. Um, it was actually a recent quote from Garland, who is the CEO of AWS, Amazon Web Services, who had said that AI replacing software engineers, and specifically junior software engineers, is the dumbest thing he's ever heard. And a voice like that kind of carries some weight. And I see that in all, here at Aspida. I don't think AI is going to necessarily influence or slow down our hiring. I do think we see it as a productivity booster, right? It's a force multiplier more than anything.
Well, I'm using we're using Cloud Code. I'm blown away
Yeah.
at how that's changing the game for developing software. I agree with you. I don't think it's going to. I don't think it will reduce the number of programmers, but I think the output's going to be like phenomenal here.
Yeah, we see that today too, Paul. Like our engineers use AI for to assist with some code generation, but also, as a software engineer by trade, I can say this without insulting anyone. Software engineers are really bad at two things, and that's testing
Yes.
and documentation.
Yes, and it
Um,
blows it away. It does a
yeah,
phenomenal job.
and it does those two tasks extremely well. So
Yeah.
to your point about augmenting the effectiveness of a technical person, is definitely, we're seeing those results. By the way, our actuarials also use it, right? So
Yes.
they, they're not programmers by trade, but they're really smart, and they could design algorithms, right? And they could just ask AI, hey, take this algorithm and generate the code, right? So that is very industry relevant use case, which we're seeing good results with.
Yeah. Well, maybe we could talk. Maybe switch gears and talk about the experiences. So, Alex, you talked about. I'm still intrigued with getting an annuity in an hour. What kind of experience will people? We have advisors who listen to the show. Like,
Yeah.
let's fast forward, not 5 years, but like 2 years. What's that advisor experience going to look like? What's the consumer experience going to look like? I've got to.
I mean, one of the things we've done is to make sure that whether it's our own electronic application or a third party, so some of the external order entry systems that we require to use to be able to get into bank channels and so forth, that we have APIs on the inside to be able to receive that data and process it the same way. So we can be as much straight through processing if it's a third party app versus ours. But when we really tuned by working closely, Tisa talked about some of the people aspects, like our own operators who worked with us to give us feedback, producers, right, other agents and so forth that gave us feedback on where they get stuck in doing electronic applications. So we very much curated the electronic application process so that it is very much and we did a 1.0 and a 2.0, and we continue to improve it so that it's as frictionless as possible and as simple as possible, including all those APIs to get licensing and appointments for the producers to make sure they're allowed to sell in particular states, to be able to do all of the identity checks and so forth. We try to do as much of that for the user of these portals and these experiences as we can. So they're able to get through very quickly. But by the time they press submit, we know the data is perfect and it's close to, at least for our electronic app, where it's up close to 100% of IGO. So
That's tremendous.
yeah.
So I guess what's it gonna be like for me to sell
Yeah.
insurance, sell annuities like
Yeah.
2 years from now? How does it change? Maybe Jason's your AI. Maybe I'm just talking to an application. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I think, for us, we're AI is definitely going to be part of the equation, I think, right? But for us, I mentioned we're very, you know, vision focused, right? And our focus is always going to be, our essentially that very simple statement that Aspida is all about is we're in the business of protecting dreams. Those dreams aren't just, customers, could be producers, partners, right? So it's all those personas. Um, and I think for us, everything really revolves around speed, and the tech that we deliver supports that speed, whether that be, I think we're probably the fastest in onboarding an agent or producer that's ready to sell, right? We can onboard agencies and producers really, really quickly. Um, and then, as Alex mentioned, issue the policies, or contracts also in pretty breakneck speed. What it will look like, yeah, we are still in a highly intermediated business, right? So distribution plays a really big role. I do think part of the future is better connecting distribution with carriers, right? The better we can connect those two ends, the better. We're seeing, like, obviously a rise of very sophisticated uh, distribution partners that bring also their own set of very sophisticated technology. How do we better connect the two and better connect them with standard data formats, right? So there's a big push, as everyone knows, with the IRI.
Yes.
Some really, I think, positive developments around data sharing. I would say we're not quite there yet. We're not all on the same page quite yet, but I do think we're going to see just better connectivity between carriers and these very tech savvy distributors. Um, AI will definitely play. I think it. I see AI being involved in potentially getting insights into your book of business, right? Maybe AI is think of an agentic solution where AI is potentially doing tasks on behalf of the producer, right? That that are maybe less controversial, right? They're probably not going to submit an application, right? But there are things that maybe they can do to help out distributors and producers. Um, but certainly, I think AI and just automation in general will definitely continue to play with us on the back office side. Um, again, just to continue to push that speed. I do think KYC, we've got a long way to go as an industry, making that process a lot easier, using technology for both the producer and the customer. I think we have some real opportunity there, and I think you'll see that change and become more digitally enabled as we move towards that next generation of annuity buyer, right? So Gen X and later, they are more accepting of technology, and we need to, as carriers and as in the industry, we've got to push that technology because they're going to demand it, but also just the fraud environment, right? And we just had a huge data breach that was announced, TransUnion, right? All that data is out there. So how do we use technology to counter um, fraud and really look at innovative ways, right, to address KYC? So I think you're going to see that experience radically change over time. Um, and I do think you're going to see new and unique experiences that we don't even know necessarily, right? Apple Wallet, right? Yeah,
Right.
we're really proud of that. Plug. Um, but we're going to see more ways for customers to engage with carriers, and we don't necessarily even know what they are, right? There's going to
Yeah.
be new form factors and ways to engage your carrier, engage with your producer or advisor that we don't even know yet, right? But
Yeah.
you got to be prepared for that. And I think foundationally, it's all about the tech stack that supports it and access to data and the data itself, right? So a unified data model, which we are very much about, API connectivity to that data so it can be surfaced in any experience, right? You have good flexibility. So um, short answer, I don't know if we exactly know what those experiences will look like in 5 years, right?
Yeah.
Um, but you have to be prepared for it. And I think it's all about data and access to the data with some sort of API connectivity.
Well, let me double click into that one. Like Apple, okay. What's a policy? How does a consumer touch and feel their
Yeah.
annuity app? Tisa and I, when I was at NASA, we were talking a lot about that. So tell us the backstory. Like, wow, I don't know, is an annuity contract going to be in my passbook, my wallet, my
Yeah.
digital wallet?
Yeah.
Maybe tell us the backstory. What are you trying? What are you learning? Whatever you can share with us. Whatever you think is consumers are going to demand in the future for annuities.
Yeah. So this was just an idea we had, just in talking with our CEO, as I mentioned, who's very tech focused. He said, wouldn't it be cool, right? And we're like, yeah, that would be cool, right? And we essentially picked an engineer and said, hey, you want to work on a side project? And she was like, yeah, let's do it, right? So it was a minimal investment, but it was an experiment. We knew this maybe it does, maybe it takes off, maybe it doesn't, but we've had a pretty good response. But yeah, I mean, think about it, right? Like annuity is a contract, right? And contracts don't necessarily change all that much. I mean, the values, depending on the contract, will change, but it's just something that you purchase and you kind of file away. And a wallet pass is like perfect for that, right? It's just something um, you know that you purchased and is safe somewhere. And by the way, Apple Wallet is very safe, right? So we would never do anything that would put data or client information at risk. It passes all. It's probably one of the most secure um, uh, architectures out there. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's actually it on the surface. It's a head scratcher, right? But it makes sense, right? It's just something that you could always pick up and look and say, oh yeah, I've got my
Yeah.
contract right here.
Well, Hancock did some real interesting things with the Apple Watch and
Mhm.
their life insurance policy, but they had to stay at this a long time. They had to grind. I think it's about time we do something in annuity. Tease and I came up with a credit card concept, for the MIGAs,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
a key to all this is what Jason talked about before is um, supporting whatever those future use cases will be, those future experiences will be,
Yeah.
is the foundation of an open architecture.
Yeah.
So, like you said, API connectivity, consistent data, and the fact that we had that already, that's why it was
Mhm.
so
Yeah.
easy, right, for us to be able to get the Apple Wallet integrated.
Yeah.
And if we continue to just maintain those principles, around
Yeah.
our foundational architecture, we'll be able to plug into any of the things in the future. Even the IRI things that are coming out, we have a lot of those things ourselves already. IRI is wanting to plug in for the rest of the industry, so we're just kind of figuring out what are the sockets and the plugs, right, to get things connected.
Yeah.
yeah. We've had IRI on a couple of these podcasts,
Mhm.
and I think what they're doing is great.
Yeah.
It takes a lot from this is hard stuff. Like nobody
Mhm.
wants to talk about APIs. I've talked to regulators. Said you both appreciate this. I've asked a couple regulators, including one Connecticut, saying instead of just requiring companies to file their PDF application, what if you required an API? And it goes,
Mhm.
what are you
Yeah,
talking about?
yeah.
Yeah.
It's
We'd love to see the PDFs go away,
We've
right? But
wouldn't we?
Yeah,
Wouldn't
it
we?
would be great if my the 5-year question, if I could go back and re-answer that, like please no more PDFs and certainly
yeah,
no more paper, but we know
yeah,
that
yeah.
it's legally might not happen, but it's okay.
But any
It's
efforts
a good
on
5-year dream.
Yeah, Bruno.
Uh,
that's good. And any efforts on kind of aggregating individual financial data and assets in one way? And you mentioned that API, maybe that's the avenue. But over and over, like that's one of the biggest criticism we get. Like people
mhm.
have various 401ks, various
Yeah.
mutual funds here and
Yeah.
there, various variable annuities and deferred annuities. My guess,
We do have
things
some.
are
We
all
do have.
over the place,
Yeah.
and no one has that. I don't want to call it leadership, but that aggregating place where unless you do it yourself on a manual
Mhm.
basis, but any leads, any ideas, any special projects that are in that line where people can can view, can have a personal financial picture of themselves really fast, quick, and accurate.
We do have some downstream partners, to which we send data, right? So that they're able to aggregate and they provide the ability for someone to go in. And, it's almost like the equivalent of going into Quicken, right? And
Mm.
and downloading all your stuff, or
Yep.
what was it, Mint, or some of the other.
Mhm.
Uh, I think to your point, there's not one that makes it actually simple and completely integrated for all to go to. And I think those standards continues to emerge. Um, as a carrier, we're not in the position to be able to capture everything. We certainly could because we have the data models to support it. So,
Yeah, and Bruno, to your question, I came from banking, right, where a lot of this was mandated by some open API standards, right, where they said you have to open up API-driven access to your data. Um, uh, so because you got Plaid and MX and Yodlee, all these big aggregators were just let's hammer in these bank sites to pull information, right? Um, we don't have that. Essentially, we don't have that momentum in the industry, right? But I do think it'll eventually come. We we would love we would love to be part of that uh, evolution and that revolution to offer uh, that our data out in some aggregation marketplace. But obviously it's all has to be controlled by customer consent and all that, right? So we have to build all those mechanisms in place to support it, and I don't think we really have that. Maybe IRI, maybe something that they could pick
Yeah.
up. I do think, like Alex said, right, there are certain channels where they use certain data sets, like Morningstar by all accounts, right, where they can pull in, and we do feed that, right? You can pull in certain data from carriers, and they could provide, uh, you know, advisor can provide their customer with that 360-degree view of their wealth plan, so to speak, including brokerages and account data from banks as well as some annuities. But uh, there really is no like industry-wide standard or push. Uh, but I do think that's going to continue to bubble up. Um,
Yeah.
Well, on a related note, I kind of step back at the industry. We've had people on talking about these topics, but I see three big growth opportunities for the annuity market that are constrained by data friction.
yeah,
One is this whole RIA wealth channel.
yeah,
How do you get your how do you even describe an annuity and get it into like an Orion,
yeah,
platform where everybody lives? That's one. I think the other one is in-plan annuities.
yeah.
How do you put an annuity inside a 401k when somebody
right.
has to be portable? Well, yikes. But it's big. If we only had 1% of that market, it would be enormous growth potential. The other one is alts. I think
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
a lot of it's kind of surprising. You look at the S&P 2000, you look at the S&P today, and like I think half the companies now are private. So you almost, if you're a good advisor, you should be creating some exposure. I'm going to say probably should keep myself out of compliance
Mm-hmm.
problems, but probably should create some exposure for those. And there certainly are some. I've seen some interesting private placement VA offerings come, but how do you value them? It's hard enough to manage all the values here. When you kind of look at the landscape, are those the big opportunities that are data enabled? If we could solve the data, there might be an
Mm-hmm.
opportunity. Or are there others we should have on our list?
I think you got most of them. I think like the ability to put an annuity into a 401k, that's a big one. I don't know that that's only data related. That would be the challenge
Right,
there,
right.
right? Those are going to be partnerships and so forth. Access to alts, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, imagine the individual that's having an annuity have access to things like we have access to for investment purposes. Um, and yeah, I do think in those cases, again, having the open architecture and at least from a tech perspective, a data model that will support those things could make it
Mm-hmm.
quicker. But many times it's going to be about partnerships and the deals that we make.
Paul, I do think to your point of it and related to data is as an industry, uh, I think we need to align on, outside of a carrier's walls, how do we define an annuity? What are the fields required? You know, what format is it in? Is it a, you know, is it a token? Is it a, you know, is it a blockchain contract? Is it a, you know, a giant XML string? Is it a JSON object? Like, what is it? And what are the fields that we as an industry say this is how we define an annuity, you know, externally outside our walls. I don't think we've aligned on that. I think probably the closest we've come to is like the app sub format from DTCC, right? Like,
Maybe Accord
but
103 or something like
yeah,
that.
and maybe Accord 103 for applications, and that, you know, that's like, that's
It's like a
okay.
handshake. That's a handshake.
Yeah,
Hello.
but is that like, am I going to pull that into? Am I going to take a mainframe, you know, position delimited file into a aggregator, and you know, you know, that's just not going to mesh, right? It's old format with the new world. It's just not going to work. So um, that's an industry problem we need to solve. Is just the basics. Like, how do we as an industry want to align on how we define an annuity? You know, once outside of your walls, right? Like
Right.
internally, obviously, you've got different ways to
Right.
define those data elements, but that's going to be the
Well,
challenge.
Internally,
hey,
we've
listen.
done the work to come up with what we call our canonical, schemas for
Oh,
these various data
listen.
domains, right?
We,
So,
we, we could have a whole dinner on this one. But hey, listen, I want to be respectful of time. I know we're at the top of the hour. Tisa, final thoughts or questions for our team here?
Let's see. I have so many based on that last few minutes there. I was thinking a nod to the academia world and the Common App, but we'll add that to our 5-year wish list, or maybe 3-year wish list. Um, so just appreciate the conversation today. Kind of echoing a lot of what I heard. We've invested here, of course, on the producer experience and making that faster and more efficient. I agree with you, that culture of experimentation, and technology, consistent data, some of the themes we talked throughout the episode, agree wholeheartedly. And I guess we're all, as an industry, maybe have to work together a little bit more out of the 2 or 4 walls, 2 walls here, to tackle what we expect from a consumer expectation as we see the next generation of retirees and their annuity needs. So thank you for all the insights today.
Yeah.
Thanks, Bruno.
Oh, if I can stack one last one, like we talked about all the myths and we've dwelled upon them through this conversation. But my question is, how does the industry stack up to other industries? Like, we hear these things, we hear myths, and you both have been within this industry and outside of this industry. How does the industry stack up? What are those myths really true? What are some of the reaction and the kind of the impressions that that you have observed outside this industry?
overall, the industry is certainly behind. That applies in the 9 years I've had at MetLife for sure. When I got to see insurance for the first time, coming from retail and telecom and so forth, and part of it's because the age old, call it a myth or whatever, it is true, right? The insurance deal was made at the table, right, face to face, and there was paper, and we went from paper to thinking that we automated something by using a digital version of paper in a PDF, right? The fact that we went to the PDF got us away from the actual physical piece of paper, but it's still paper, right? As opposed to just fields and schemas where we can collect what we need to collect. We go on for a while on that, but yes, in general, it is behind as an industry. I do believe hiring in people from outside the industry, as well as folks that are forward thinking, allows us to build experiences that don't have to be influenced by that myth or the fact that we're behind, and continuing to strive to be as automated as possible. And like I say to sometimes to people, we want to send everybody to the beach. operations team, we're going to send them to the beach because the systems we build do everything for them, right? And I know we're not there, but that's the mantra.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would echo that with Alex. Definitely behind, coming from an industry in consumer banking where paperless was taken for granted. Like, coming to Aspida and we're like, oh yeah, we're paperless. I was like, oh, we celebrating this? This is like a new thing, but yeah, it is in the
Bar's not
industry,
too
right?
high.
So yeah, so yeah, I definitely would disagree with Alex. We're very behind, but I see a lot of positive progress. I mean, again, only being in this industry for a year and a half, I would say as an industry, it's definitely improving, which is good.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, thanks both of you. Appreciate your time. I tell you, I want to buy an annuity just to get that that pass in my
Yeah.
wallet here. So
There you go. We'll set you
so
up.
good. Listen, hope to have you back, again, and hear more about what you're doing and what you're delivering here. But thanks for doing in the industry, and heard great things, and glad to have you on our show.
Yeah. Thanks for having us.
Thanks,
Great.
Paul. Thanks, Bruno. Thanks, Lisa. Have a good
Thanks
one.
so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
We seek to keep things simple and have your back in the years to come. Nassau is headquartered in Hartford, Connecticut. Learn more at nfg.com.
Zinnia, an Eldridge Industries business, simplifies insurance. It delivers comprehensive solutions for the industry's most critical needs and creates the modern rails of the insurance industry. To learn more about Zinnia, please visit zinnia.com.